on page 3 of your guide. We point out here that 98% of our population are quick to agree that success in life is a puzzle. It seems to be a perpetual struggle to figure out where the pieces fit. Every time we have the picture come together smoothly, for whatever reason, we find ourselves trying to force a piece into place. But in the end, we recognize that it does not fit, and we set it aside. Every person has their own personal puzzle. However, success in life is based on universal laws, and therefore available to everyone. Many years ago, Earl Nightingale suggested that strange and marvelous things will happen with constant regularity as you alter your life and begin living in harmony with the laws of the universe. Now, as you adhere to these laws and integrate your belief with your behavior, the pieces of your personal puzzle will begin to fit. Success will become your life.
Begin and scan. Have a pleasant journey.
Safe travels.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Thanks for the help. This one's for you.
Your hand will become your compass and will enable you to stay on the right road to a bright future. Now, let's begin putting this puzzle together. We're on page 7. What is success? That's a great question, isn't it? It's a question that a lot of people are asking themselves. It's a question that totally missed my mind until after I was 26 years old. You know, to solve your personal success puzzle, it's important that you begin with an accurate understanding of what success means. That's the first piece of your puzzle.
Beginning scan.
Put in place.
Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sandporter Bridges.
It will certainly turn the daily exercises of putting the puzzle together into a more pleasurable experience. Now let's look at it again. What is success? Ask 100 people and you'll get 98 different answers, most of which will not work. If they did work, you would see more happy, wealthy, well-balanced people in the world. Earl Nightingale said success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That is the best definition of success
Weapons
I have ever
restrictions
found.
lifted.
In 1959, Earl Nightingale arrived at that definition after 17 years of intensive research. He continued to use it for 4 years before he left us in 1989. I adopted his definition and have continuously used it since 1961. Neither Earl or I have altered one word. His definition is in perfect harmony with the laws of the universe. Those 9 words will serve as your compass. They'll be your continuous checkpoint as you go from one win to another. Each win or victory always greater in nature than the previous one. Now, 4 of the 9 words contain the secret to solving this success puzzle. Progressive, worthy, realization, and ideal. Each of the words on their own have special power and meaning. When they are brought together to form the concept that Earl Nightingale shared with us in 1959, their power is magnified many times. He gave us a concept that has the potential to transform our lives.
Verifying
Look
ID.
on page 8.
Clear.
I'm going to
Weapons
ask
detect.
you to
Weapons
think of
restrictions
how
lifted.
important each of these 4 words are to the completion of your personal success puzzle. Describe what each word means to you in the space provided below. You see, I have worked in this industry now for most of my adult life. I talked to thousands, literally thousands of people from Asia to America. And time again, when Earl's definition of success came up, it was sort of passed off as set a goal and work towards it. And that's just about the way it was. And that's the way it was with me when I first saw it. Then I started to study because I experienced some phenomenal success At an early young age, my income went from $4,000 a year to well over $1 million a year. I had to know what actually happened. And so I began to study, and I've never stopped. And part of my studying took me to these words, and I started to think about them. The average individual that's experiencing success, it's jerky, it's up and down, there's plateaus. That's not what progressive means. Progressive means to continually move in that one direction, and realization. You see, the whole trick of life is awareness, and we want to be aware of our worthy ideal moving into physical form. Now, if we're going to realize it or become aware of it, we're going to have it. And you take a look at the next two words then, worthy ideal, we're going to find that they're the first two we want to deal with. When I first saw that, I thought, I've got to be worthy of the goal. But after studying my personality for the last 40 years, I've totally turned that around. I believe the goal or the ideal has to be worthy of us, because you see, you're going to trade your life for it. That's right. And there's no going back. Now, how about the word ideal? It's a beautiful word. Back around 1903, James Allen, a marvelous little Victorian, an ideal is an idea that you have fallen in love with. I'm going to ask you to think about those four words. Really think on them. And then put your ideas or your thoughts down on page number 8. Now look over on page 9. I was mentioning awareness. As you proceed through this program, it's going to become apparent that you already have everything that is required to live the life you choose. Now, that probably sounds a little ridiculous to you, but as we keep studying, you're going to realize that that's correct. All that is lacking is the awareness of the abundance which surrounds you, waiting your acceptance. The changes required to enjoy an ideal life are internal. Everything in your material world is merely the manifestation of what's taking place in your mind. There are only two sources of reference to go to when you begin to study life. One is science, and the other is theology. Under serious research, both of these areas reveal that nothing is created or destroyed. Therefore, everything we will ever need is already here. If not in one state, certainly in another. It is awareness that we are seeking. That's what you're looking for, and that's what I'm looking for. Now, I graphically illustrated this concept on the bottom of page 9. If you'll bring your attention to the bottom of page 9, where we have simple consciousness.
Order assigned.
You come up a little bit, we have self-consciousness, and then way up at the top, we have divine or cosmic consciousness. Now, there are many levels of consciousness. There are millions, as a matter of fact. I've used the numbers 1 to 16 just to graphically illustrate the growth or raising of consciousness. Think of an animal. I have a couple of little puppy dogs at home. Two of them together don't weigh 10 pounds, I don't think. They're cute little dogs. I think they're smart at times. They're in a simple, conscious state. An animal is aware of its exterior world, but not its inner world. An animal can look without, but not within. An animal knows and yet knows not. You and I have been blessed with higher faculties. We know and we know we know. We have what's called self-consciousness. In other words, we can be consciously aware of our objective world and also consciously aware of our inner world. We can look without, we can look within. And then if you go way up, there you have divine consciousness. That's where you are aware of your oneness with your God, or whatever you refer to that which is. Now there's many levels of consciousness. I'm going to ask you to put an X beside, let's say, number 5. Just to the left of number 5, put an X. And on the right-hand side of 5, put an A. Now there we're talking about awareness on the 5th level. Now the person's not too far removed from an animalistic state. You go into any major city or even some smaller ones, and you're going to find people laying in the gutter. They'll be absolutely filthy. They're just getting by. They're not much better off than the animals. In fact, some animals are better off than they are. they have a very low level of consciousness. They lack awareness. You could say, well, they're just stupid staying like that. Well, not according to our definition of stupid. You're going to find people with a degree in medicine. You're going to find accountants and lawyers down in those skid row places. So they're not stupid. What do they lack? They lack awareness. Now go way up to around 16. Put an X to the left of 16 and an A to the right. Now here we're talking about an individual that has an elevated level of consciousness. There's something about them that you're attracted to. You're not quite sure what it is. There's a calmness, there's a peace about them. They never seem to get excited, they never get upset. Now there's many people say, well, they never get excited. I wouldn't want to be like that. Well, I probably would. Because the person that gets excited when something good happens, they become depressed when something bad happens. And you see, the individual with a higher level of consciousness has a magnificent balance in their life. There's something about them that we're attracted to. When they have a problem, they just look right into the heart of the problem and they see the solution. You never see them rattle. Now, we lie somewhere between self-consciousness and divine consciousness. Let's come up to number 7. We'll say number 7. We'll put an X to the left there, and on the right, put 50,000. Now, we're going to say that this person's conscious awareness enables them to earn $50,000 a year. They're not earning 50 because they want 50. They're earning 50 because they're not aware of how to earn 150. Go up to number 9, just above the 50, and put 150. Now, at that level of consciousness, you may earn 3 times as much. What changes in an individual? Is it what's going on outside, or is it what's going on inside? Let's take an individual, put them at number 8. We're just playing here with the numbers to illustrate a point. And we'll say this individual gets headaches. It's their head. They made it ache, and they can make it stop. You see, what they lack is the awareness of what is causing the headache. And because of their ignorance, they're probably taking those little white pills to solve their problem. And yet a pill will never solve the problem. Not in a million years. Now, we can make our head ache and we can make our head stop. We can earn whatever we want. Everything that we ever want is already here. All we have to do is develop awareness. A person that's alone and lonely is not alone and lonely because they enjoy it. They're alone and lonely because they're not aware of how to develop meaningful relationships. So as we go through the success puzzle, the objective of the puzzle is to raise your level of consciousness. You know, that's your point in life, is to become aware of your oneness with God. And as you keep working on developing your level of conscious awareness, it's going to be reflected in your outside world. So as you proceed through this program, it's going to be apparent that you already have everything. What you want to do is develop the awareness of how to enjoy it. Now, when you're thinking of yourself, and you have to think of yourself because it's your personal puzzle. If I asked you to think of your house, you would get an image on the screen of your mind. If I asked you to think of an automobile, you'd get an image on the automobile on the screen of your mind. If I asked you to think of yourself, what picture do you get? Well, most people get a picture of their physical body. If I ask you to think of your mind, what image do you get? You see, you and I think in pictures. Well, when the average person's thinking of their mind, they get a picture of their brain. But you know, your brain will not think. You think with your brain, but your brain won't think. Play with that for a few minutes. Your physical body is the manifestation of an activity that's called mind. There was a doctor in San Antonio, Texas, back around 1934, Dr. Thurman Flake, who was very involved in the healing arts, and he felt that we were approaching things the wrong way. He said, all we're doing is treating the body. We're treating the symptom. We're not treating the cause of the problem. We're in the pain to give the pill or cut something out. I want you to imagine that you're driving down a highway, and the red light on the dash of your car suddenly flashes on. Can you even imagine yourself driving into a service center, borrowing a hammer and a screwdriver, and knocking the red light out, saying, thank you very much, as you pass the back, and then driving away with the effect of your braking? What is just the red light is the signal there's something wrong. Well, we need to signal there's something wrong with the motor. And Dr. Thurman Flake seemed to understand that. And if you look on page 10 There's a drawing there that graphically illustrates the mind and the body. Now, I have shown that to tens of thousands of people, and frequently when a person sees it for the first time, they snicker, smile, or laugh right out loud, and they think this is so silly. No, I that'll tell you that is one of the concepts that they've ever put in front of them. Because what it does, it brings order to your mind. Now, take a look at the top of page 10. We say to bring order and understanding to your mind, you must have an image to work with. Since your mind is the unseen part of your personality, you must engage your imagination to build this image. Now, this graphic illustration of the mind and body is going to assist you. You're going to in all of my seminars to graphically illustrate the three parts of the human personality. The stick person, like all other ideas presented in the seminar, not allowed the appearance or the stick person concept is revealed power, possibility, and promise. That's like all of the programs that I built are built on the fact that you have a powerful, large, superior being in your circumstance around you, and the free will your thoughts directed power ever result you choose in your lifetime. Now, turn over onto page 11. Here we have taken the three parts of the personality, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the body, and we've broken them down. Now, I'm going to ask that you really focus your attention on these three parts. Take a look at the conscious mind. See the little antennae sticking out there of part one? They look like little antennae. What are your sensory factors? Part one is your conscious mind. And your senses, your five senses, you can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. And information is fed into your conscious mind through your senses. Now that's both good and bad. As Moses said, it's a blessing and a curse. We've been trained to live through those things, but we should really be using our higher faculties. However, we'll come to that a little later. This is the part of you that thinks. It reasons. You see, there's a power flowing into your consciousness. It flows to you and through you. And you use this power to think. Your free will lies here. This is the part of your mind that will decide the changes required to live the type of life you really want to experience. The conscious mind can accept or reject any idea. If you're highlighting, definitely highlight that. If you're underlining, definitely underline it. The conscious mind can accept or reject any idea. When an individual truly understands that, they'll never blame anyone else for what they're doing. They're going to take responsibility. It was their choice. Now, no person or circumstance can cause you to think about thoughts or ideas that you do not choose. The thoughts you choose eventually determine the results in your life. Victor Frankl is a Viennese psychiatrist, Jewish psychiatrist, spent the war years in German concentration camps. It was while he was in the camp that he realized that regardless of the intellectual and physical abuse that he had been subjected to, no one caused him to think something he didn't want to think. That's where our freedom is. The thought you choose eventually determines the result you get. We do become what we think about. Now, all pain, pleasure, or limitation is either originated in the conscious mind or accepted uncritically from an outside source. If you were going into the hospital for a major operation, you'd be put under some form of anesthetic. Now, what the anesthetic does, it knocks the senses out of play. It puts your conscious mind to sleep. So there's no pain, and there's no pleasure. You don't even know what's going on. You are unconscious. Now, if you look at the bottom of the paragraph, as you accept the thought, it is impressed upon the second part of your personality. You become what you think of. That's the one point all great leaders all down through history have been in complete unanimous without disagreeing on virtually everything else.
Thanks for the help.
Now let's take a look at page 11, part 2 of the subconscious mind. And by By the way, what I would recommend you do something that I did many years ago. When you think of yourself, you picture this drawing. And when you look at the drawing, think of yourself. I see my ear, my eye. Now I'm well aware that my mind is in my fingernails, in my ear. It's in every molecule of my being. Mind is movement, and my body is the manifestation of that movement, or it's an activity. However, we have definitions wrong ways of it. So I see the top half of my head is made by conscious mind, and the bottom half is made by subconscious. Now, here we say the ideas that have been fixed in your subconscious mind through repetition or impact go on your condition. It's not referred to as your paradigm. Now, the subconscious mind functions in every cell of your body. Every thought your conscious mind chooses to
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until the...
You can say the conscious mind reasons inductively and deductively, but the subconscious mind is
Cargo
totally
verified.
deductive. In other words, it only has the ability to accept. Now we say the subconscious mind is your emotional mind. You're emotionally upset. There's something going on that is not natural.
Safe traps.
This part of you operates in an orderly manner. We refer to that order as the law. Dr. Werner von Braun pointed out that the natural laws of the universe are so precise that we don't even have any ship. We can send people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. You see, this is your universal mind. This is the part of you that's part of the whole universe, and it operates in a very orderly way.
Delivery complete.
As a matter of fact,
displaying performance
the
evaluation.
subconscious mind expresses itself through you in feelings and actions. Now, let me repeat that. The subconscious mind expresses itself through you in feelings and actions. When you consciously say, I feel good or I feel bad, what you're really saying is, I'm consciously aware that my body is in a positive or a negative vibration. Now stay with me, we're going to come back to that. The subconscious mind expresses itself through you in feelings and actions. Any thought you consciously choose to impress upon the subconscious over and over again becomes fixed in this part of your personality. Fixed ideas will then continue to express themselves without any conscious assistance. Fixed ideas are more commonly referred to as habits, and the collective habits are referred to as the conditioned mind or the paradigm. Most of your behavior is habitual. Think of when you got dressed this morning. You didn't stop and think how to put on your pants, you just pulled them on. Think of brushing your teeth. You didn't take a look at the brush and wonder what to do with it. It was all automatic. Do you know that high percentage of everything you do is on automatic pilot? That conditioned mind is controlling you. That's also part of the problem, and we're going to discuss how to alter that. Now, we say the subconscious mind is frequently referred to as the spiritual side of your personality or the universal mind. The subconscious mind knows no limits, save those you consciously choose. Dr. Joseph Murphy is probably one of the most prolific authors in the area of the mind and the body that I've ever come across in the last 40 years. He's written a book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. He wrote many books, but The Power of the Subconscious Mind is a wonderful book. It's an easy book to read, and it's a book that I recommend every person getting involved in buy and read. In fact, I've been telling people to buy it for many, many years. Now take a look at the body.
Cargo addressed to Porter awaiting collection.
Hold it up in front of your face. It looks solid, doesn't it? Do you know that if you looked at your body under a microscope, you would see nothing but a glistening, radiating, gleaming form? Your body is a molecular structure. It's a Your body is a mass of energy at a high speed of vibration.
Thank you for your continued support. Good work. New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further information.
Impressed upon the subconscious, which is in every cell of your body, must move your body into action. The actions you're involved with determine your results. Take a look on page 12. Here we're talking about success, mind, and attitude. And I'd like to help you understand there is is only one mind. There are billions and billions of people, but there's only one mind. Mind is the universal power, is a movement. We are all individualized expressions of. Ask any successful person what tops the list of priorities for a happy, successful life, and they'll be quick to reply, progress. Neural ideals program. First, magic word was attitude. I bet I listened to that 10,000 times over the years. And it is a magic word. It's going to determine everything in your life. Now, what is attitude? It's a pretty good question. Go and ask people what attitude is. Find out what your thoughts are.
Rest is advised.
Composite of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, which in turn produces results. Now think about this for a moment. I want you to imagine that I visit you.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
And I have visited you. And I have visited you. Great idea. Never hear anyone say that's a great case. What is it? Attitude is the composite of your thoughts. That's the conscious mind, your feelings, the subconscious mind, and your mind, the material medium, the instrument of the mind. Now take a look at the graphic illustration on page 12. You'll see the arrows indicating energy is, and it's flowing into your consciousness. It is without form. It's neither food nor gas, neither water nor air. It just is with the power flowing into your consciousness and flowing to choose any idea you want.
There we go.
Because simultaneous with the impressing whatever the impressed must be expressed. So the idea is expressed through the body in action. Now the action sets up a reaction. You'll see on the bottom of page 12, your actions cause a reaction. Right reaction. It's the action-reaction that alters the conditions, the circumstance, and environment in your life. So the CCE is for conditions, circumstance, and environment. Now you add all those up, and they spell results. Now what is it you want to change in your life? You want to change your results. You want to change your income. You want to change how you feel physically. You want to change relationships. You want a better position. This is where it starts. This is where it starts. If the results are going to change, your conditions, circumstance, and environment must change. And before it can change, you must get involved in new actions. So you have to get involved in new thoughts, which cause new feelings, which set up new actions. This is very basic. I teach this to children, but I also teach it to corporate executives. I have worked for many Fortune 100 companies. As a matter of fact, a program with this concept in it was chosen by Malaysia Airlines over 100 other companies when they wanted to shift the results of 10,000 people. Now look at what William James said. This is around the turn of the century, back around 1900. He said the greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. Now let's go back.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
When an idea is fixed in there, that idea is a habit. And that idea will express itself through your body in action without any conscious thought. Stop and think of the number of things that you're doing. You're walking, you're standing, you're sitting. You didn't know how to do those things when you were born. You had to be programmed to do them. And if you weren't programmed, you'd still be down on all fours. Habits express themselves through you in action, and the action sets up reactions. Now, the truth is, most people are involved in the same actions, getting the same reactions, and the condition, circumstance, and environment does not change, so neither do their results. Let's take a look at how we arrive on the planet. We make our debut. The conscious faculties have not developed. You'll see on page 13, there are 3 illustrations, 1, 2, and 3. Let's focus on 1. And the individual we want to focus on is the second person in from the left, the one without the conscious faculties developed. That graphically illustrates a brand new baby. The baby's subconscious mind is wide open. It will accept anything you want to give to it. Anything. It has no ability to reject. You could take a baby out of an English-speaking home in Chicago, New York, or Toronto, and take that baby to Beijing, go to a suburb, give it to a Chinese family who have never heard the English language. That little English baby would grow up fluent in Chinese, absolutely no knowledge of the English language. Why? Because that's the way it's programmed. Most of your prejudices, your likes, your dislikes, your beliefs are programmed in from outside. You and I are the product of somebody else's habitual way of thinking. Now, when a baby arrives, the mind is wide open. And look at the quote by Dr. J.B. Ryan. He said, the mind is the greatest power in all of creation. I bet people argue with me on that and say, no, God is the greatest power in all of creation. No, God is the creator. The mind is the creation. And it is the greatest power in all of creation. Well, when a baby arrives, the subconscious mind is wide open. Now,
Rest is advised.
Individuals to the right of the baby and the one to the left just graphically illustrate people that are around the baby. Do you know all their thoughts are going right into that baby's mind? Everything they say, everything they feel, we're communicating that to the baby's subconscious mind. If you walk into a room and another person's upset, you feel it. Well, so do you. If you're handling horses and you're afraid of the horse will react. If you're handling dogs, you're afraid of the dog will react. Well, if dogs and horses react to our energy, don't you think babies do? Of course they do. Did you know that a baby that is born into a welfare family, odds are pretty good they're going to grow up to be on welfare. Almost all welfare recipients are third, fourth, fifth generation welfare recipients. You see, you can teach a baby to work the linguistic genius. You can teach a baby many languages. You can teach a baby to read before it can talk. You can teach a baby all the math figures in the world before it can talk. And when a baby can talk at around 2.5 years old, you can give them a book on a CAT scan, they read it to you. Take them to an art gallery, and they'll tell you that's a Van Gogh, that's a Monet, that's a Rembrandt. Now, you may have heard this just for the first time, and if we don't understand, we have a tendency to criticize or ridicule. This is being done. When who heads up the Institute for the Development of Human Potential over in Philadelphia, worked with brain damaged children for 40 years. Now, what would I do with healthy children? He took a little seed, a vegetable, not even an animal, branded, and in a matter of 8 years, had the child back to normal state of intelligence, could run a mile in 14 minutes. All things are possible. Our problem is we're not aware of what we're working with. So we're surrounded by people that are programming us. I was, and you were. Now, come down to number 2. The subconscious mind is programmed. I'm going to say it's programmed with X-type energy. X being the unknown factor. Now, do you know that that kind of energy is going to dictate what kind of thoughts you're going to entertain? It's going to dictate how you like to entertain yourself. And you know that we gravitate towards people that are very much like ourselves. Now, look over to the right-hand side of number 2. You'll see ideas coming from a television set and ideas coming from another person to the conscious mind.
Weapons
Now,
restrictions
this
lifted.
person has the ability to take that idea and reject it, which is illustrated with me, Or they can get emotionally involved with it, which illustrated with A. Let's suppose the suggestion's very negative, and they accept it. They accept it because they're not thinking. I remember one time Earl Nightingale said if most people said what they were thinking, they'd be speechless, and I'm inclined to agree with them. You see, mental activity does not constitute thinking. Now, this person should be thinking. When somebody fires ideas, if we're not thinking, the ideas go right into our subconscious mind. And through repetition, we can have some funny things happen. Why do you think we have such high juvenile crime? Do you think it's an accident? You'll hear people say, well, the television doesn't make a difference. Why do they charge $1 million, $2 million for a 30-minute commercial during the Super Bowl? Well, everybody's business because there's so many people. That's part of the answer. The other part is because of the objective state that people are in. The television set is programming your subconscious mind to buy, to do, to be what you are. So is the newspapers, so are the people you're surrounded by. Now, command number 3. Take a good look at this. There is an invisible power that's flowing to your consciousness as I speak. It flows to and through us, and it never stops. As it's leaving us, you can literally photograph the energy leaving the body. Semyon Kurlian, the Russian photographer, perfected Kurlian photography way back in the 30s. And you can photograph that, and you can photograph the energy around it. And with an individual, you can photograph the energy leaving the body. And as the individual changes, sees images in their mind, that density and the color of that energy will change. It is so potent, it'll penetrate a camera, penetrate a film. Now, those ideas that you impress are going to control your behavior, and your behavior will control yourself. This is the first piece of the puzzle, and I'm going to tell you what might be important piece of the puzzle. Okay. You may be saying, well, Bob, I've seen some of this in other programs. There's a program that I do, and the program's name. Now, keep in mind, I'm going over this drawing first by Leon Van der Waal, dating way back in the late 60s. I've been going over it every day. You can't get too much of this. I want to suggest that you flip over now onto page 14. And you'll see here, in your own words, describe what you feel you have learned from carefully analyzing this first piece of your success puzzle. You want to listen to this piece often. And look at the quote at the top of the page. The only thing that can grow is energy. Stop. In 1961, I picked up a record, and a man on the record said, if you can tell me what you want, I can show you how to get it. This guy knows what he's talking about. I really have to get my hands on something. He did know, and I did. Hello, this is Bob Proctor. The author of that record was Earl Nightingale. The record was this way to say. Earl Nightingale has success in progressive realization of a worthy idea. This is the second part of the puzzle. Your own personal success puzzle. I would ask you to go to page 19. Let's review this together. When you consider that success is dependent upon the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, it necessarily follows that the first thing you require to solve your personal puzzle is a worthy ideal. Now, common logic dictates you cannot progressively realize a worthy ideal if you do not have one. Now, this piece
Delivering
of the
cargo.
puzzle is absolutely vital to your success, and I could say
Hello,
it's
Sam.
the piece
Pleasure
that
to
most
see you
people
again.
never even find, let alone get it to fit.
Excellent.
A worthy ideal
Everything appears to be in perfect condition.
the high-octane energy that fuels your mind and body to travel through those severe storms you know that you will encounter. It is the storms that strengthen you, that give you the mental muscle you require to keep on moving onward and upward.
Oh, by the way,
Where the ideal
I came across
is
something I thought you might find useful.
as a
You're
goal.
more than welcome to it.
Goals are to play a necessary role in your life, but by comparison, a goal is really quite common. A new automobile, a trip abroad, or possibly a piece of furniture, or a new garment could come under the heading of a goal. A particular mark on a
Do remember
report
not
card
to
at school
neglect
or
your
a
health.
monthly sales target may also qualify as a goal. Good work. New order available. Please act worthy ideal. Car and worthy ideal sound more like an oxymoron. They just do not fit. A goal lacks the prestige and significance of a worthy ideal. Would you trade your life for a car? Would you trade your life for a house? Would you trade your life for a new suit of clothes? Or for a trip? I don't think so. Well, that's what you're doing. Now think of this for a moment. The worthy ideal is so marvelous that you willingly trade your life for it. I'm trading my life for what I'm doing. I know I am. It's a conscious choice. I'm going to do what I'm doing until I die. Because I love it. I absolutely love it. The ideal is charged with
Verifying the ID.
weapons. The ideal that inspires the soul to respond upward to a greater awareness of the sheer meaning and abundance of life. Real life. The life the architect of the universe created you. And the worthy ideal that will inspire you to keep on going regardless. It will cause you to develop a greater awareness until at long last you become aware of your oneness with the Creator. The ultimate aim of our true nature, primary cause of every problem. On the right hand up. Well, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about becoming more and more aware of who we are and what we are. I'm quite certain if we just got a peek at our true potential, we would wander around absolutely stunned. Wasted. Take a look over on page 20. Here we're pointing out you have often found. I have often felt that if you and I had got a glimpse at our true potential, we would wander around stunned. And lost the power that's locked up within us. I was speaking at a convention, which you can find in the company, and Steve stood up on a word God suggested that God gives you more talent and ability than you ever will use in your lifetime. Your gift to God is to develop as much of that talent and ability as you can in your lifetime. You know, there's no one alive who is capable of guessing with any degree of accuracy at what you are capable of doing. There's genius wrapped up in every cell of your being. The most erudite scientist alive will not even guess what you can do. You're an instrument of God, and now with it's designed to do God's work. Now you may say, well, what is God's work? God's work is creation. God's creation and human gift for creative ability. Look what Napoleon Hill said. Once you have read his works, an educated person is not necessarily one with an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated person is one who develops the faculties of their mind that can acquire anything they want for its equivalent. That's violated by others. You know, I spoke at a convention for 2,000 teachers. I've been that for 10 years. Not one of them, not one out of 2,000 could tell me what exactly I'm talking about. Best job I see. No real hope of making it perfect. I was not very happy. I was definitely not that healthy. I'm earning $4,000 100% of my pay just to break even. I never had any. And I was taught if you don't have a degree, you can't win. If you don't have an education, you can't win. I was fortunate enough to get and the more I start to look at it, I realize
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Weapons beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Weapons restrictions lifted.
While she was feeling for her life, she was never ever feeling
However, to put their personal themselves together and the choices that you desire and that you are worthy of, the development just a thought. So what here they are. There's your intellectual factors, your imagination, your memory, perception, intuition, reason. The intuitive factor is really one of those people. Okay. The sound of the body falls through the law of vibration. You know what your intuitive factor is? Your intuitive factor you say nothing. They go on the dog comes something wrong. Their intuitive factor. Everything that's on it inside shows the upside. Our intuitive factor. We've got this marvelous mental factor that picks up vibration. Everything in the universe vibrates. Nothing rests. A body in a coffin is moving. If it wasn't moving, how would it ever change to dust? See, the law of vibration decrees the whole universe. In an ocean of motion, as the energy around you starts to change, your intuitive factor that tells you that. Ask any real estate agent. They go out on a showing. They go into a new home that's just been listed. They pick up the vibration in that home. They'll tell you whether that place is going to sell fast or whether it's going to be on the market.
Enough already.
Something wise to you. That's your intuitive factor. Did you know you had this? Let's flip over and take a look at that. Yeah, everyone's got a perfect memory. Most people's memories are good. Nothing to be bad. Memory and your imagination, your will, all of your intellectual factors strengthen by the same law the body does. If I put my right arm in place and I left my right arm would place to be rendered useless. Now, if at the same time I lift powerful weights with my left arm, I can have really powerful muscles. So that's a good one. Exercise strengthens the body. Not loud, body. Take a look at imagination. You know, as a little child, your imagination was in high gear. As a matter of fact, your parents were probably delighted when you got your imagination into high gear. Because you would sit down with the top off a pot or something and play with it and stare at it for the longest period of time. What will you do with it? Well, no one knows. But you would use your imagination. They call that thing. They say we're not being Everyone's creative. The idea that one person is more creative than another is absurd. One person may have developed their creative abilities further than another, but we've all got exactly the same potential. I remember working with Harry Lorraine. We had about 3,000 people in the audience. I think they met almost every one of them coming in. They get to shut up the bus so long as they were. I could teach how to memorize a book. Oh, perception. Well, perception is your point of view. Your perception tells you what you see. Our perception is all messed up. We've got a perception problem when we look at our results and then compare it to our potential. We take a look at our results and we say, well, we just can't do it. You'll hear a person want to take a trip. They don't know how to make a decision. They have a perception problem. You got to get the perception straightened out before you're going to make the decision. Then you have reason.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. Cargo verified.
Together and then
Thank you.
build an enduring ID. You and I got the godlike ability to think. That's what makes us creative. Thinking is the highest that we're capable of. I remember Ken McFarland said that 2% of people think, 3% think they think. He said 95% would actually rather die than
Delivering
think.
cargo.
Do you think? Are you really thinking? Do you think about what you're doing? See, everybody thinks. Everybody does not think. All you have to do is stand back and watch the way some people are behaving. It's
Handled with care, I see.
They never do what they're doing. Stand back and listen to these conversations. They never say what they're saying if they were thinking. Now, you and I think in pictures. We have the ability to hold one picture on the screen of our mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. How do we do that? We will. How long is the first wander around say, I just don't have any will? Perfect will. I have a statue of Napoleon just inside my front door, and I've got him there for two reasons. He reminds me of what I do and what I don't want to be like. I don't think he was a nice guy, but he was a powerful guy.
You're the best, Sam. I owe you.
Biographers called him
Come back
organized.
anytime.
Another one said he had a immense capacity for sustained concentration. He is the will that you develop the ability to concentrate with. This energy is flowing into your mind and flowing to and through you. You need to direct it. You know that holding anything with your mind, with your will, is concentration. Concentration with the mind works very much like a magnifying glass. You see a partial magnifying on one concentration. No one's paying attention.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Always getting in trouble for dreaming. But he said he never quit. What he's doing today is what he dreamed about then.
Beginning weapons restrictions lifted.
saying my mind is a center of divine operation. The divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression. This means the production of something beyond what's gone before. Something entirely new. Not included in my past experience, though proceeding out of my past experience by an orderly sequence of growth. Therefore, since the divine cannot change its inherent nature, it must operate in the same manner. Consequently, in my special world, it moves forward to produce new conditions always in advance of anything that's gone before. You know, you can read that probably in some and try and figure out what it was you were reading. You have to study this. I'll give you a reason. Here he's saying, my mind is a center of divine operation. Stop thinking you're in an automobile. There's one center in that automobile. I want you to visualize yourself holding a basketball. There's one center in that basketball. In the city you're in, there's a center. I don't know how to find it, but I would imagine someone does. In every building, there's a center. And people have learned how to determine where the center of things are. That has to do with other measurements. Now, when you're talking about the mind,
Beginning
you're
scan.
talking about
Scanning bridges
That's
ID.
no beginning, no
Verifying
end.
ID.
Therefore, any
Clear.
point
Weapons
center, and
detected.
that's what he's
All
saying.
weapons will be
My
locked
mind
until
is
departure.
a center.
All clear.
And so is yours.
Welcome, Sam Porter
My
Bridges.
mind is a center of divine operation.
travels.
That means when you relate to the divine as the power, there's as much of it in front of you as there is behind. There's as much to your right as there is to the left. And then think of this. The divine operation works by law. We've already pointed that out. Everything moves in precise order. Our job is to figure out what these laws are and then learn to live in harmony with them. Now, he said the divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression. So you see, there's a basic law of life. It's create or disintegrate. Well, if you're working with the law, it's always create. It's never disintegrate. So when things are going the wrong way, we're responsible for it. We are in charge. We're moving it the wrong way. If we were working in harmony with the divine side of our nature, we'd always been moving in the right direction. It's always for expansion and fuller expression. And Troward says this means the production of something beyond what has gone before. In other words, you're going to get results that are greater than you've ever got in the past. This isn't going to be included in your past experience. It's something that you've never done before. It's something brand new. That's what he's saying. Something entirely new. Not included in your past experience. Though it's proceeding out of your past experience by an orderly sequence of growth. Well, you see, the order comes with the law. Well, let's just digress for a moment. What are one of the laws? One of the laws is cause and effect. What's that law state? The law states whatever you put out, you get back. Action, reaction are equal and opposite. Energy returns to its source of origination. Give and you'll receive. What are we programmed to do? We're programmed to go out and get. We're not programmed to go out and give it all. And yet we know that the person that gives the most service is the one that's going to get the greatest reward. So what we want to do, we want to shift our whole consciousness in harmony with the law. Don't worry about what someone else is doing. Now, Troward's saying, therefore, since the divine cannot change its inherent nature, Socrates referred to God as the unmovable mover. You see, the laws can never change. The laws are always the same. Everything always works one way. It's like the laws of the world. Anything heavier than air is attracted towards the center of the world. Water freezes at 32 degrees. It boils at 212. Not 211 or 13, but at 212. Well, these laws always work the same way. Since the divine cannot change its inherent nature, it must operate in the same manner within me. Consequently, in my special world, of which I am a center, it will move forward to produce new conditions always in advance of any that's gone before. Now, let's take that and let's match that up with your intellectual vectors. Here you have the power of God of the universe flowing to and through you that you can work with, and you've been given the faculties to do it. The very fact that you're hearing my voice right now should make you think. Give consideration to this. I have a little phone. It weighs 7 ounces. I can put it in a shirt pocket. I just hit 2 buttons, function and 8, and it doesn't ring, it vibrates. Somebody in Singapore could phone me and it would vibrate in my shirt pocket. I'd take it out and answer it, and there they would be. Do you think it's an accident that we've been able to do that? And that's nothing compared to what we're capable of doing. Von Braun said that the laws were so precise that we could send a person to the moon and time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. And when Kennedy asked him what it would take to do it, he said the will to do it. The will, there's one of your intellectual factors. In other words, the concentration, the focus on it. There's a quote here that I put in. You don't have to slow down, you have to calm down. You see, everybody thinks we gotta slow down, we're moving too fast. We haven't even started to pick up speed. What we've got to do is calm down. When you're calm, when you're relaxed, the energy flows freely through you. Why do you think people study yoga? They study yoga so that the energy will flow freely through them. They don't get more energy. Everybody's got all there is now. You learn how to release it. You learn how to make yourself into a better channel. Now, at the bottom of page 22, you'll see here my binding commitment. My means you. I'm going to ask you to make a written commitment that you will memorize Thomas Trower's quote and read it numerous times every day.
Order assigned.
Memorize this and keep repeating it. And then say, now what does it mean? What's all this mean? I've got all this power. Look over on page 23. Identifying your worthy ideal. This is the part of the puzzle where it becomes really tricky, or it can become real tricky. Now you've got to prepare yourself to proceed with the process of identifying your worthy ideal in spite of the thoughts and feelings you might experience. Some of the thoughts and feelings you will probably experience as you search for your worthy ideal have the potential to cause you to abandon the entire exercise. You see, other people will attempt to steal your dream. You must never let anybody steal your dream. You've got to be in a very relaxed state. You've got to let all the beautiful thoughts and all the dreams come to your consciousness. Realize this, if you can see it, you can do it. In the first part of the fight, we talk about how you and I are programmed. We are literally programmed. We have all these habits that we picked up that belong to other people. They've been passed down from one generation to the next. You know, it's absolutely amazing that we're doing as well as we are.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Now, it's going to put up a sacred mental balance. It does not want to change. I often say there's 2 forces working against us, and going through the headlight. One's inside, one's outside. The one inside is the paradigm. The one outside is our environment. 96% of the population are going nowhere, and they're the people that we're running into all the time. As you go to develop or search for your worthy ideal, you're going to be employing your imagination and your intuition. Now, these properties, these higher factors, will definitely lead to an unfilled, boring existence. Trust me, and just do as I suggest, you're going to be richly and ultimately rewarded for your thinking. Think instead, and put yourself into a relaxed state, and let your mind live to thought. What would you really love to do? Don't think anytime thinking of how you're going to do it. That's not as important. Don't let your customers or resources get anything to do with it. How would you love to spend your days? I love spending my days doing this kind of work. I really love what people love, what I've got in plan that you're in. Now, before you begin your exercise of identifying your worthy ideal, it would be worthwhile to take the time to consider both words one at a time. Now, I've already mentioned the idea of worthy. People go down and arrive at their worthy ideal. They come up with a beautiful idea that they ask me my worthy ideal. We see ourselves as a little thing. This word is essential. We've got the universe. We've got all the power in the universe to work with. We've got all the knowledge in the universe to work with. Everything stars right here, right now. What is worthy of me? I'm trading my life. What's worthy of you? What are you prepared to trade your life for? What's the thought of this worthy idea? Now, Now, look at what James Allen said. He said, until thought is linked with purpose, there's no intelligent function. We're going to do this on work. Now, look at front of page 24. At the bottom of the page, Brandon said something that I love, and I'm totally agree. He said there's a spark of idealism within every human being. Look at the two illustrations. Take the one with the little tip person at the bottom on the left. You'll see the heart is the subject of mind. The heart is the divine side of your nature. Read in scripture where it said, as a person thinks in their heart, it didn't say as they think in their intellect, as they think in their conscious mind. It's as they think in their heart, in their subconscious mind. Because whatever's impressed upon the subconscious is manifest and expressed in the body. The heart is always for expansion and fuller expression. Back to the words book. That the divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression. All right, now we're going to work with the divine side of your nature. So you sit down and let that side surge into your consciousness. Start to jot down some of the ideas that come to your mind. One idea leads to the next. I remember one time Earl Nightingale said that ideas were like slippery fish. And he said if you don't gap them with the point of a pencil, they'll probably get away and they won't come back. So as an idea flows into your consciousness, jot it down on paper. Now, you remember I quoted James Allen, where he said, an ideal is an idea that you fall in love with. Love is resonance. It's harmony. When two people are in love, on a conscious level, their intellects have a rapport. In other words, they enjoy talking about the same idea. Heart to heart, they're in sync. Their feelings are in harmony. They resonate. Now, when you're conscious and your subconscious is in harmony, it's expressed through the body, so they have a great physical relationship. That's when two people are in love. You can literally fall in love with an idea. How do you do that? Well, you have the same idea operating in your emotional mind as you have in your intellectual mind. That's when you're in love. Now, when you hit on the right idea, when you hit on the idea that you want to dedicate your life to, that is a worthy ideal. In other words, it's something that you'll trade your life for, and it's something that you'll love. I love what I'm doing. I've loved it now for 30-some years. I couldn't even imagine doing anything else. What do you love doing? And don't worry about the money. We say, well, I can't earn money doing that. That doesn't make any difference. You don't earn money from working. You get your satisfaction from your work. You earn money through multiple sources. Now, that's another program at another time. Right now, we want you to get this piece of your puzzle put together. Now, on page 25, your worthy idea is actually your heart's desire. You'll often hear people talking about the heart's desire. That's the heart's desire. What is your heart's desire? The heart's divine side of your nature. Follow your heart. Let your imagination fly. Don't spend 5 seconds or 1 ounce of energy thinking of how you're going to be, do, or have whatever it is that you come up with. How it's going to happen is not important, nor is it your responsibility. That's God's job. Your responsibility is to decide what you will move forward with. What are you going to go after? What's the target you're shooting at? Now get this straight. It is not your part to guide or supervise the creative process. All you have to do with that is to retain your vision, stick to your purpose, and maintain your faith and gratitude. As you're doing this, your mind, your old paradigm is going to be playing with you. It's going to keep saying, well, how would you do it? Where would you get the money? Where would you get the help? Just ignore all that. Every time those thoughts come to your mind, just say, next. That's an old paradigm. Don't let the paradigm control you. If you let your paradigm control you, you're never going to have any more than you've got. Way back in 1961, I changed my paradigm. My income went from $4,000 to $175,000 a year, and then it went over $1 million. I didn't even know what I had done. It took me 9 years to figure it out. I was what you call an unconscious competent. Now, you can still win if you're unconscious competent. The Problem is, when you start making mistakes, you don't know what to correct. Your problem is not how to do it. That's God's work. Your job is to be reflective of what do I really want to dedicate my life to? Now, you just you're responsible for your mind. You know you've got an electrical system in your body to do with this supercomputer looks like an absolute toy. Do you know that the blood circulates hundreds of miles of passages in your body every 33 seconds? You're carrying all and all the furniture in one sweet change. Think of what you've got working for you. Now you work at it. You take time, totally relax, and you keep letting the pictures come to your mind. And don't be at all afraid to write them down. Be bold and be courageous, and write down what you want. Remember the words of Thomas Prower at the bottom of verse 25. The divine operation is always for expansion and full expression. Out of the path of spirit, by order of the from. That's the one that everything that happens in your life that you have to be essential to make your person not prepared to do what you're going to do. Forget all of that because it all breaks. Just raise your level of consciousness to the point you're at right now. This work. This is a wonderful. Successful people make decisions very fast and change them very slowly. Yes, people who make decisions go to the top. And the ones who don't make decisions. And this is another to master at the youngest possible age. And when we're teaching anything to a child, we should attempt to limit the ridiculous in an effort to simplify the learning process. By the way, that's also good advice for I continually reduce the ridiculous for myself. Now, with this in mind, that teaching decisions as merely begin to develop. stock answers the one we were given. Not natural to use. We say just because. Now, the only thing they lack that you have is vocabulary. So we've got to use words they'll understand, and we've got to make allowance for the fact that this may be the first time they've had to speak. They ask why, and then they come and ask you, can I do this? Can I do that? So I feel very I was fortunate in studying all this material before any of them were born. They came and asked me and I'd say, oh, Dad, don't do that to me. And what do you say? And I'm always decisions make a big difference. I mentioned and there's times when I would he said strange and marvelous with constant regularity. As we all through our lives and begin to live in harmony with the laws of the universe. Now, one of the laws of the universe is polarity. The law of opposites. Everything in the universe has an opposite. There's no up without down, no hot without cold. Question and answer are opposite sides of the same thing. Every question must have an answer. How to They're both rhetorical questions that don't have answers. They're statements. Every question is an answer. That's why wise people are always trying to think of different questions to ask. Now, understanding this law and then altering our lives and live in harmony with it is certainly going to assist in the decision-making process. One of the major causes of indecision is a person's firm belief in limited supply. This is given to us in school as little kids. If you study economics, you're taught limited supply. But if we're growing up, money grows on. So think of this for a moment. We're always taught limited supply. There's not enough to go around. Hands up there. There's infinite supply. The fact that we my mind is a center of divine operation. Divine operation is if you study the supply of success and develop a proper understanding of the true source of supply, you'll realize there's never any. And in fact, there isn't even any literature for nature. You're pointing out that you can virtually eliminate conflict and confusion in your life, but
There we go.
There's people that are totally miserable. You don't have to be that way. You've got to make a decision. Decision-making brings order to your mind. And of course, this order is then reflected in your objective world, in your results. No one can see you making decisions, but they'll almost always be the result of your decisions. Jake Sandlin said we think it's secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is what our looking glass. Now, the person who fails to develop their ability to make decisions is doomed, because indecision sets up internal conflicts which can, without warning, escalate into all-out mental and emotional wars. There's a word to describe these sort of emotional wars called ambivalence. My Oxford dictionary tells me that ambivalence is the coexistence in one person of opposite feelings toward the same objective. Now, think about that for a moment. Probably been like that on many occasions. Please don't think. Please don't do it. Don't go. Please don't think. We're playing this game all the time. Just bang, make a decision and do it. Now, everyone on occasion has had these feelings. Well, with this piece of your success puzzle, you're going to examine the cause of indecision and its escalated state, ambivalence, and hopefully eliminate them by becoming a much more effective decision maker. Now, at this point, you could be asking yourself, how does the person expect themselves to be? They can make decisions. Because we all know that they're the ones that make the big money. They're the ones that have the fun. They're the ones that keep moving. How do you do it? Well, I've got an answer for you. You've got to do it on your own. However, you've already begun by thinking about and digesting this information. You're going to find that the value of a decision is going to have an awful lot to do with the courage required to make it. Now, many of the greatest decisions, which were responsible for the foundation of civilization, were reached by assuming great risks, which often meant the possibility of death. A good example was the decision made by the men who signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia on the 4th of July in 1776. That declaration gave freedom to everyone in the United States of America. However, it could have very easily gone the other way and left all 56 hanging from the gallows. You got it? They were truly courageous. Now, look at page 31. Here are 4 questions that I use, and I would recommend using and using whenever a major decision must be made. Rather than sitting around and wrestling with it and wringing your hands, just ask these 4 questions. And sometimes you may be not popular by making a decision, but in the long haul, I'm glad you did. Number 1, do I want to be, do, or have this? You've got to do I want it. Number 2, will being, doing, or having it move me in the direction of my goal? Number 3, is being, doing, or having it in harmony with God's laws or the laws of the universe? And number 4, will being, doing, or having it violate the rights of others? If the answer to the first 2 questions is yes, and the answer to the last question is no, make the decision and get through. Don't fool around. You can train yourself by asking these questions. Very, very good at making decisions. Give this information on decision practical application. Do it right now. Rather than merely enjoying the psychological aspect of this piece of the puzzle, in this space provided at the bottom of page 31, clearly describe a situation in which you are in the midst of making a decision. Then, apply the information from these 4 questions to your personal piece of the puzzle. Write it out, then make the decision. I like to Ronald Reagan said, when I've gathered enough information to make a decision, I don't take a vote. I make a decision. Now, the idea on page 32 is probably the best idea that you're ever going to come across to help with decisions. Let me share a story with you. This story is written up in the Born Rich book. It's written up in the original copy of Jimmy Stew's Soul. It's a powerful story. It's a story about a man who raised $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days after he got it. I was working for a corporation and a lodge was 100 miles north of Toronto 8 or 9 years ago. And halfway to this lodge is a town called Barrie, Ontario. Now there's a main highway, the 400 highway, runs right through the center of Barrie. On the Friday night, I was in this lodge on the Thursday, and I was working there until Sunday night. On Friday night, a tornado went right in front of the highway, killed a dozen people, ripped thousands of cars, ripped cars in the air, and people in that part of the world are just not mentally equipped, or physically equipped for something like that. but I was hesitant and all sorts of things. Sunday night, I was driving down the highway, and I stopped the car when I got to Barrie. I pulled off to the side of the road. I got out and I looked, and I thought, wow, what a mess. Well, another man did the same thing at a different time, but he did the same thing. Now, this other man and I were to meet the following night on the Monday night. At any rate, his thoughts were a little different than mine. He got out and he looked at it and he thought, wow, what a mess. Then he thought, there's got to be something that I can do for these people with the vehicle that we've got. He was the vice president of a broadcasting company that had a number of stations in the province of Ontario and in Quebec, Canada. Well, this idea, there's got to be something that's right on his mind. Now, he came out the following night and stood back in the room with another gentleman, and the two of them were evaluating the seminar that I was putting on because they were trying to figure out whether they wanted me to work for the broadcasting company, which I subsequently did and worked for the entire broadcasting industry in Canada. At any rate, he picked up an idea while he was in the seminar, and he mixed it with the idea that he had. You got to help me. On the Friday, he called his executive together. He took a flip chart, and on the top of the flip chart, he wrote 3, 3, 3. Now, you'll notice on page 32, the A. I'm going to call that the A line. You can put anything you want on that A line. He put 3, 3.
Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure.
Now, the rest of the drawing, all he had was 3 3s at the top of the flip chart. He said, how would you like to raise $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from now, and give it to the people of Barrie? Well, he said there was stunned silence in the room. Finally, someone said, Templeton, you're crazy. The man's name is Bob Templeton.
Delivering
Said,
cargo.
we couldn't raise $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from now. There's just no way.
Sam
We
Bridges.
couldn't do it 3 months
Good
from
to
now.
see you.
I said, wait a minute. I didn't ask you if we could, or if we would, if we should. I just asked you how you'd like to. Well, he said, sure,
see
we'd
some
like
damage,
to. Well,
but
then he put
nothing
the
of
rest of the
consequence.
drawing. He put a T on the left-hand side, just as it is on page 32, of why I can't, or why we can't on the other side, how we will. Now, he then put a great big X under why we can't. And he put next there. Now he said, when we come up with an idea of why we can't raise the $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from now, we haven't got any place to write it. And by the way, we're going to stay here until we figure it out. With the mind we've got, we should be able to figure it out. And he said, we're just going to think of how we will do it. And every time an idea comes, we're going to write it down. Well, of course, everybody thought he was crazy. Now he said, when an idea comes up of why we can't, somebody's going to yell next.
It's yours.
Well, finally, someone so lucky he said we could have a radiothon go right across the country. He said, that's a good idea. He tried to write it down. And when he started to write that down, somebody yelled, you know, you couldn't have a radiothon go across the country. There are radio stations across the country. Someone else very meekly said, next. Temple.
I'd best get back to work. Good luck out there, Sam.
Harvey Kirk and Lloyd Robertson anchored the show.
Good work. New order available. Please access delivery.
And they weren't going to go on the radio. However, like that down, and somebody said, you're never going to get those 2 guys on radio. And then a whole group of people yelled, next! And that's the way it's done. Every time an idea comes to your mind of what you can do, you say next. You just keep figuring out how you will. And if you make a decision, it's going to be done. Bob made a decision. The $3 million will be raised in 3 hours, 3 days from now. But on Friday, they had this exercise. The following Tuesday, they had a radiothon go right across the country.